All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope you are doing well wherever you are. It is another Wednesday evening, time for another episode of Gear Talk. I'm excited to be here. Had to miss last week due to shipping. Sometimes things get a little crazy here at the warehouse, and it's hard to find time to actually spend with my friends. But that's the nature of the business, trying to juggle real world life, work, and a family, and try to get the wheels out on time. Sometimes something's got to give. So unfortunately, Gear Talk is lower on the priority than paying customers getting product. So my priorities might be different than your priorities, but it's important to me that when people give me money, I get them the stuff that they pay for as quickly as possible. So apologies for not being here last week. I am looking forward to this week, though. Feeling good, feeling excited for another fun episode. Got a lot to cover, and I hope that there's a lot of good questions tonight, because I always love getting your questions. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to Gear Talk episode 103. 103 episodes of Gear Talk. It's crazy how time flies. Gear Talk is the show that I do every other week or so, where we talk about the geekier side of rollerblading. If you know the difference between a flat profile and a round profile and a face profile, and that a face profile doesn't have anything to do with someone's face, I guess it kind of has something to do with someone's face, but that's not where the name came from. You've come to the right place. Gear Talk is the show where we break down the weirdness of rollerblading, try to get your gear dialed in so that every time you go out there for a session, you have the best time possible. You can't blame the gear after you watch this show. We'll get you dialed in out there. Can't complain about your skates anymore. We'll have you set up so that you can skate as well as you can. And if you're not skating great, it's not on me. I do Gear Talk every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. I usually try to do it every other week. Sometimes I have to bump a week due to family obligations or work obligations, but every other Wednesday is my goal. We do it live on YouTube. The nice thing about YouTube is that I can react, or I can get with all of the audience that watches my videos already and get their reactions to the things that I have to say. We do it live so that we can have questions in the chat. So there's a live chat if you can join us at 9 p.m. Eastern. And we love answering questions. So there's usually a lively debate in the chat about things that I say, or somebody asks a question, and before I can get to the question, somebody else will answer it. So it's a really great place to hang out with skaters who are like-minded, really interested in getting to know the geekier side of rollerblading. If you have a question, I would be more than happy to answer it. Make sure that you tag back to blading when you put in your question so that I can see it. If you're watching this in the future and you're unable to meet us during the live stream, totally understood. It is a weird time for our friends out in Europe or in Asia. But please feel free to leave a comment in the video. I always read my comments. I try to respond to as many as I can. Depends on the comment. Sometimes a question can be a little difficult to respond to, but I will read everything. So if you have something that's on your mind and you're having a hard time finding an answer to it, please leave a comment. I would love nothing more than to at least give it a shot and see if I can answer that question for you. Otherwise, I can point you in the right direction to get some answers. Before we get started, like I do every show, I want to thank my friends over at thehelmetinitiative.org for our helmet giveaway, which I haven't activated yet. Let me do that real quick. One of these days, I'll be fully prepared. This is not the day. All right. Pages, helmet, enable. I only leave this page up when I'm doing the show. And the reason is I want to make sure that people who watch the show get access to the helmet giveaway. I don't want some random search engine finding the page and then spamming it with people who just want a free helmet. I want people who actually care about skating and watch the show. So how can you be one of those people? Well, every other Wednesday we do a live show of Gear Talk, and every episode of Gear Talk I try to give away at least one helmet. The helmets come from our friends over at the helmetinitiative.org. They're a great organization that has provided us some helmets to give away to our viewers. I'm a big proponent of wearing your helmet when you skate. It is the cheapest form of insurance you can get. You put a helmet on if you fall down when you are skating. Not a lot of us can skate without falling down. It's just the nature of the beast. So if you fall down and if you hit your head, wearing a helmet will keep you from having a traumatic brain injury. You might still have one if you hit your head hard enough, but it is the best way to limit the damage that you can cause to yourself if you hit your head. And I'm all for going out and skating, having a great time, but let's be a little safer when we're out there skating. It's important to make sure that you're protected, that you take out a little insurance for yourself. Skating is great, it's fun, but you got to wake up Monday morning and get to work. So make sure that you're being smart when you're out there skating. Helmets usually cost around 50 or 60 bucks. And I know that that can be a lot of money for some people. You know, it's a full set of wheels and then some with bearings. And that's a hard thing to justify, especially if you don't have a ton of money right now. You know, maybe your skates are beat up. Why would you spend so much money on a helmet? I get that. I'm here to help. So if you are interested in getting a helmet, we'll be giving away one free helmet tonight to a lucky viewer. All you have to do is go to backtoblading.com/helmet and put in your information. All we need is your name and address or email address. I'm not going to ask for any information, any mailing addresses or anything like that unless you win. The email address isn't for spam. It's so that I can get a hold of you if you win. And I pick one person at random. Usually over the weekend I get through it and I pick one person at random, send them a message and say, hey, you want a helmet? Where are you located and what size do you need? And if they are in the US, I will find a helmet in my inventory that fits your noggin and I will ship it out. No charge, absolutely no strings attached. All that I ask is that you actually wear the helmet. Don't sign up for a free helmet if you're not going to wear it, because there are people out there who do want a helmet. And I want to make sure that they have every opportunity possible to get a helmet. Now, if you are outside of the US, it is expensive to send a helmet to you. Not only is shipping expensive to get to you, but once it gets to your country, you will have to pay import taxes, and that can be a little pricey. So rather than do that, we just send you money. So I will send you $50 US. It could be worth a lot if you're not in the US and the dollar is very strong right now. So it is how much a helmet costs here. I will send you 50 bucks so that you can get a helmet wherever you are. The money for our helmet giveaway, if we are not giving away an actual helmet, comes from our supporters on Patreon. So patreon.com/backtoblading. A lot of people out there who, you know, have a little bit of extra money and want to give me a couple bucks to help this Back to Blading program continue. It goes back into us making good shows, us traveling around to get to different places to make shows. It also supports our helmet giveaway. So whenever we're buying a helmet for somebody, that's where the money comes from. Whenever we ship a helmet to somebody, that's where the money comes from. All of the proceeds from the Patreon get reinvested into Back to Blading. Even $1 a month would be great. Anything is perfectly fine. Backtoblading.com/Patreon for more information on some of the things that you get. It is not a huge content place. There's not a lot of stuff that I'm holding that I only distribute to the Patreon. There are live streams when I have an opportunity to do it. There's some behind the scene photos. There is early access to the podcast. But really, you should be doing that because you want to support, not for the extra goodies. If you are crunched on money, if you're a student, if you're saving up to buy a house, please keep the money. It's not that important. This is just something that if you are in the means to donate, then we would appreciate your help. But please, this is the last thing on a priority list. It is going to a good cause, but if you can help yourself professionally or with your family or whatever, that is more important. But again, one helmet tonight. Go to backtoblading.com/helmet. Let me paste the link in the show notes.com, not in the show notes, in the live stream. There we go. Backtoblading.com/helmet. That is where you go to fill out your information. Just put in your first name, last name, and email address, and we will take care of the rest. We'll take somebody at random. and get in contact with you and hopefully get you a helmet on your head. Thanks again to everybody at the Patreon for all of the support, and thanks to the helmetinitiative.org for helping us with our giveaway. All right, let's get started with my current setup. So this is one, it's kind of an oldie but a goodie. I have been on the same skates for a little over, almost 2 months now. This is probably one of the longest stretches for me being on the same pair of skates. Not only am I kind of burned out on the reviews, to be honest, there's not a ton of new skates out there that I haven't reviewed, but I really love these skates. You know, I've got a wall full of skates that I could try, and these are the ones that just fit my feet perfectly. They are the Adapt Brutale. Oof. All right, so these are the Adapt Brutale. They are the 2022 version. These are the new ones with the removable lining on the inside. They are a carbon shell, carbon/dial-in, which I still need to figure out what the difference is. They're made out of a material called dial-in. I don't know what that material is. I want to say it is a type of carbon style material, but it is a little bit squishier. So if you look at the cuff, in the old Adapts, it was carbon all the way up. And that is one of the things that I didn't really like about the Adapts. I preferred my USD carbons. They had a plastic cuff. The Adapts being a full carbon cuff means that you can't really squish down if you're trying to get low on topside tricks or on royales. But these have a little bit of squish. And I think that's due to the dial-in versus the full carbon that I was skating on my stealths. The nice thing about the squish, a little bit more comfortable when you're skating, a little bit more generous when you're trying to get boot down on things, but still provides a ton of support, a ton of rigidity. I think it's the perfect compromise, at least for the way that I like to skate. The nice thing about these Adapts, so this is a carbon base and a carbon cuff. This whole area is carbon, and then this top area is the nubuck leather. And that makes a really squishy, you can see just by squishing it around, a really squishy top. Very similar to like an athletic shoe. The neat thing about that is when you slide your foot in, you can tie up these laces just like a sneaker, and it sucks your foot in. Really, really comfortable fit. It can be adjusted however you want. One of the issues that I always run into with a plastic shell boot is that sometimes this distance between the bottom of the shoe, bottom of the boot and the top of the boot is a little bit too low, not tall enough for people's feet. And I hear people, especially on like Aeons, where they try to slide their foot in and you get this pinching feeling on the top of your foot. Less of a problem with Adapts, and the reason is, in any soft boot, to be honest, the USD carbons are very similar in that. The nice thing about this is that it is squishy on top. So you can loosen them up if you've got a fatter foot, or you can tighten them down if you've got a skinnier foot. Super adjustable. That's what I love about these skates. You put your foot in, it feels like it's getting a nice warm hug. It's a beautiful feeling. I hope I didn't mess up the mic when I did that. Yeah, it should be fine. And they fit great. They are very light. They have a really nice sole plate. This is a machined sole plate, so it is not injected molded. It is machined out of either UHMW or Delrin. I'm honestly not sure what the difference is. I've never messed with Delrin. UHMW was the material that we used to use for grind plates. We still use them for our anti-rocker wheels. It is a really fast material. This is a very similar compound to the UHMW. Very fast on sole tricks, very fast on royales, but it's not super fast. It's not uncontrollably fast. You squish down on a royale and you can kind of coast. It'll continue to move you versus something hard that you might actually slip out. I don't slip out very much on these sole plates, and that's what I really love about this setup. And I am on Balance 2 frames. I've been really enjoying skating the Balance 2s flat. Full disclosure, I do own 50/50, so these frames were designed by me. I make money whenever I sell them. With that being said, they are my favorite frames. I designed them for the way that I like to skate, and I'm still skating them with a whole wall of things that I could be skating. I prefer these over prime frames for skating flat. Probably prefer primes when I'm skating anti-rocker still. I like that deep groove that you get with a prime frame. But if you're skating flat, this is a really great frame. very little compromise. You don't have a ton of huge split, so it doesn't feel like an Aeon where you're kind of feeling like you're skating anti-rocker even though you're skating flat. The groove is nice and tight with a good chamfer, and it's wide here, so it's a little bit more protected than a shallow groove would be, a shallow H-block would be, which means that it pushes you a little bit further out. You can see in my H-block where I'm still grinding, you can see this wax buildup. This H-block is kind of working as wheel bite protection, and it's keeping me from getting wheel bite. Add to that these 58 millimeter wheels. These are 92A. They're starting to wear a little bit, but they're still pretty crispy. These are a really great wheel for riding on the inside. They're hard. They're a nice profile, which we'll talk about a little bit later tonight. And as a result, they don't stick. So I very rarely get wheel bite unless I'm really screwing up. I got wheel bite a few times when I was doing a backside this weekend, trying to skate my mini ramp up in the mountains, which doesn't have a lot of coping. It's a very flat, almost a ledge, and you have to get really low and push your foot out like that so that you can get away from your wheels. A little bit of adjustment. Can't do what you do with anti-rocker. That's one of the nice things about anti-rocker. You can kind of slide on anything. With this, you do have to lock your grinds. You do have to get in the groove, but I'm loving the challenge. It's been really fun. And honestly, skating flat has been really good on my knees. I don't feel as like sore after I skate as I did with anti-rocker and a carbon shell and prime frames. The aluminum is super responsive, but it's also very jarring on my old knees. Skating anything over 90A is really just asking for trouble. So trying to get a little bit softer, 88A, and so even 85A is a really good hack to get around skating an aluminum frame with a carbon shell. But this is a fairly hard setup with the 92s on the inside. Really happy that I have these plastic balance 2s. They really fit the bill perfectly for the way that I like to skate. So this week, I've been skating flat for, a month now, I think? This next week, I'm going to go back out to Marsh, hopefully weather permitting, and finally get to skate our new 56 millimeter wheels. Oh, which is this setup over here. So same boots, I'm going to stay on the adapts. The only thing I'm going to change are the wheels. So these are the new 56s. They are a brand new profile. So I actually have one over here. This is the 56, 88. You can see the profile. It is a rounded, flat profile, as opposed to the face profiles that we have on the, I have one of these. This is what the face profile looks like. So this is the wheel that I'm riding on the outside. You can see that profile, very different than this profile. This is a smaller wheel. So this is a 56, 88. This is what they look like on the Balance 2s. Really excited to test these out. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. The thing that I really like about the face profile is that you get a lot of swizzle, a lot of turn. This flatter profile, I'm really curious to see what it feels like in comparison, because being flatter, you're going to get a little bit more stability. You're going to get a little bit more resistance because there's more urethane touching the ground. So I'm wondering how it's going to feel when skating, if I'm going to get more acceleration, if I'm going to get just as much ability to turn as I do with my face profile. The wheel bite situation, these are a rounded 56, so it is not flat, but it's not a face profile. It is more of a rounded 56 with a flat top. I think that I'm going to get a little bit more wheel bite than I would with the 58 millimeter face profile wheels. That face profile is so steep, it really works kind of like a slide. So when you're doing slides with big wheels, wizard frames, things like that, you kind of slide on the side of the wheel. The 58 millimeter face profile simulates that, but with a 58 millimeter wheel. That helps you slide over things on ledges, so you don't have to worry about wheel bite as much. This is a little bit more of a rounded profile on the edge. It might make a difference. We will find out this weekend. I am skating the compass bearings. They are going to be fast. It's going to be a really fast ride. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out. I've heard that heel rolls and toe rolls are really fun with this wheel, so I'm going to try those as well. I've done them before in the past. I'm not super good at them, but maybe a flatter profile wheel will help with that. We will see. And then finally, they are 88A, which is my favorite durometer. It's a bouncy urethane. It'll be really fun to see how they feel with such a small profile. 56 millimeter is the smallest wheel that I've skated in a long time. And I think 88A is going to be a really fast ride. 56, really quick acceleration. We will see. It's going to be a really interesting ride. These 56 millimeter wheels are almost here, so they should be here next week. These are the samples that we got. As soon as they are here, I will let you all know. We will post it on the socials. They are coming in 56, 88 as well, in black and white, so you'll be able to get them in both colors. We also have a restock of the 58 and the 60 88A. We've got the black 58A, 58 88, and 60 88 in stock now. And the white 58, 88, and 60 88s are coming next week with the 56 mil shipment. So it's going to be a really big drop. Super happy that we finally restock on some of this stuff. It's been 90 days waiting for these wheels, and we paid for them 120 days ago. So it's been money that's just been sitting there. Nothing I can do about it, but it should be a big shipment. I hope that you like them. I do think these 56s are going to be a lot of fun, and obviously I will report back this weekend. Make sure that you tune in, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the video that I post this weekend. I will give you my full feedback on the 56s. My friend Scott Crawford has been skating them for a bit. He says that he really likes them. They are fast, a little bit more wheel bite than the 58s, but a lot more stable. So I'm really curious what that feels like and if I can tell the difference. All right. A little bit of housekeeping on top of the current setup. I always like mixing in a little bit of that. One last thing for housekeeping though. So this shipment that brought in the restock of the 88A wheels also brought in some new chroma wheels. So people always ask, when's the new chroma drop? When's the new chroma drop? Well, we tried to get these out earlier. They were supposed to be here beginning of September. We were going to start the beginning of fall with a new chroma drop. It took a little bit longer to get through. The ports are just backed up, and we get all of our wheels, they ship by ocean, so it takes a long time to get here. But this was an incredibly long time. Usually it's about 40 days to get here from the factory, and this time it took 90. So that's a little bit over twice as long as we were budgeting for. It happens sometimes, but I think you're going to be very pleased with the wheels. We announced them 2 weeks ago and we started shipping last week. They are the version 3 for our good friend Stefan Brando. So here's what the wheels look like in the box. This is the box designed by Jeremy Bytall. Absolutely love his work. It is a full glossy box with a little see-through C in the front so that you can see the wheels on the inside. If you open the box, you can pull out the wheels. So this is the, there, that's a little better. This is the 60 millimeter 90A wheel. These are the same purple color as Stefan's V2 with a completely new graphic. The backside has the new chroma backside graphic. I don't know what we're calling this, but it is a very cool texture with the triangles. It's got the C on it. Double-sided wheels, absolutely love this. It's just such a cool look to have graphics on both sides. Costs a little bit more, but I feel like Chroma is a higher end brand. We try to make really cool packaging, really cool looking wheels, bringing a little bit of color to rollerblading, less black and white and gray, and now we've got purple and pink and neon green. Each of the boxes comes with a sticker sheet, because who doesn't like stickers? This is what the sticker sheet looks like. So it comes in the box. These are shipping out now. If you've already ordered your wheels, they should be en route. If you are waiting on a shop to get their wheels, they should be en route. I think I've got a few more shops that I need to ship out, but I've been getting through them as quickly as possible. We also made some new anti-rocker wheels. So I have them in this demo frame. This is a Balance 2 frame set up with the Stefan wheels. You can see the anti-rocker wheels. These are the Chroma anti-rocker wheels. They are 47 millimeter 75D, which is a little bit harder than 101A. So if people say that they are a 101A wheel, that's not really a thing. The A rating stops at 100. If you want to measure anything harder than 100, you're going to have to go to the D rating, which is the second rating above A. I don't know what B and C are. I don't know what happened to those two, but we use D. 50D is around 95A. So 75D probably around 125A or so. They are very hard. You can hear it's like a little rock. These are special. So these are hand poured here in Durham. I pour them myself. And you can see one side is green and the other side is purple. So we put a cap, we pour a purple wheel, and we put a cap of green on top. That green then gets swirled around, and whatever happens in the curing pot is what happens in the curing pot. Sometimes there's more swirl than other. No two wheels are the same. These are, sadly, the only wheels that I have right now, and one of them is a blem. You can see when I was pouring, I got a little bump on one of the wheels. So this wheel is fine. This wheel is a blem. Why don't I have more wheels? Well, because it takes a long time to pour these wheels, and there was way more response than I was expecting to get these wheels. Usually when I do a chroma drop, I'm looking at around 10 to 20 sets right at the launch that I need to ship out. And I had about 10 made, and I said, okay, no problem, I'll make another 10. Throughout the week, I got plenty of time. We sold a lot of wheels on the drop, and we're still selling these wheels. So I am pouring as quickly as possible. The whole process takes me about 15 minutes. It takes 30 minutes to cure. So you're looking at about 45 minutes for a wheel. Now I can bulk up 2 wheels, so over a period of an hour, I can get 2 sets done. Problem is there's not enough hours in the day that I can be here pouring wheels. After I pour them, they have to cure overnight. Otherwise, if I try to put the bearings in early, the wheels will crack because the urethane hasn't set up yet. Ask me how I know. Well, because I tried to rush it and they just cracked. So that's not a good thing. So it takes about a day of when I start the process until the next day that I can ship the wheels. It takes a while. So if you have ordered wheels and you're still waiting, the reason is that the anti-rocker wheels are taking a little bit longer to pour. I have about 4 sets curing now. I get to about 4 to 6 sets a day, depending on how busy I am throughout the day. And it's a really easy thing for me to do. I can just do it during meetings or after a meeting. Sorry, not during meetings. I can do it after a meeting. Go out there, pour a wheel, come back, do some work. The curing pot beeps. I go out, open up the pot, let it out, and then I let it cure for overnight. It's a really nice break. Just like somebody would take a smoke break, I would go out there and take a wheel break. But it's been a very busy week and there's a lot of demand. So pouring as fast as I can, it's just taking a little bit longer to get here. But once I get fully caught up, we will be providing a complete set. So this isn't Stefan's Pro frame. This is the frame that he skates. He skates the Balance 2. We will be offering this as a ready-to-roll set. So you'll be able to get this set up the way that it is here with a set of Stefan wheels, fitty bearings, and the Purple Haze anti-rocker wheels pre-assembled. Probably be 130 bucks, something like that. I haven't figured out the numbers, but it'll be whatever a balance frame is, 60 bucks plus chroma wheels, 45 bucks plus a set of other wheels, which is 40 bucks. So what's that? 145 bucks. So we'll throw in the bearings for free. We'll do the assembly for free. Because of UFS, you can go in and you can just put them right on. You can see the frame bolt right here. So you'll be able to pick these up on the shop and just install them on your skates. You won't have to worry anything about it. I am going to have to wait until I catch up, though. I don't want to sell these until I can catch up with people who've already placed orders and make sure that I get all of my shop orders out. there's a lot of shop orders. So I am going to be busy for the next couple of weeks, which I'm not complaining, but it's nice to have a high demand product. I guess that's one way to say it. So these are available now. You can get them from most skate shops. If they don't have them in stock now, they will have them in stock later this week, beginning of next week. If you've ordered from us, we will have them out as soon as possible. We're pouring the wheels and we'll get them out. We also have a shirt. Sad story about the shirt. So I usually place the order for the shirts a week before we do our launch. That way I can not have to sit on the inventory. You don't have to pay for the shirts. So I want to make sure that when I pay for the shirts, they're not just sitting there. I like to keep my cash flow kind of liquid. I don't like sitting on inventory. So a week before we do the launch, I send a message over to our t-shirt printer. And I said, hey, we'd like to place another order. This is the place that we did the Yandril shirts. So, we have a good relationship with them. This was a couple months ago. I don't hear anything back. And a couple of days go on and I send another email and I said, hey, everything okay? Don't hear anything back. And I started looking around and I find that one of the partners of the shop, their partner passed away. And I don't know if this was a recent thing. I don't know if this impacted their business. I don't know if they did this before they were able to get my last project done or if it was around that time. I don't know them super well, but unfortunately it has impacted their business clearly. It sucks. This is where life kind of takes over and you've got to prioritize life over business, So my order of shirts isn't as important as, taking care of mental health or whatever issue that they've got right now that they need to deal with. So I found a new printer. This is actually the printer that I typically use here in North Carolina. So I'm going to be using them. I placed the order yesterday, sent them the money, and they should be getting me the shirts last week of October. So apologies for the delay on the shirts. That wasn't something that I had planned, but we're trying to get them to you as soon as possible. We will have a bunch of shirts. So if you did not pre-order a shirt, don't worry about it. We'll have a bunch. Made sure that I got a few more extra 2XL shirts because we sell out of the XXL pretty quickly. So I wanted to make sure that I have a few more on hand. But we'll have a full size run, small, medium, large, extra large, double extra large. At the end of October, they should be printing them probably end of next week, I think, is when they said that they were going to start. So, and then as soon as they get in, I'm going to pack them up and then I'll ship them out. If you order wheels with a shirt, we will send you the wheels first. I'm not going to delay the wheels for the shirts. You'll get the shirt when they come in. We'll take care of the shipping. Don't worry about that. But yeah, apologies that it's taking so long. That's how production works sometimes. But we're super thrilled with the way that the wheels came out. Thanks everybody for the support. We've already sold more than half of the wheels, which is a great feeling, especially right now where things are a little funky and things don't sell super quickly. But the response has been great. We're very, very happy with it. Get a hold of your local shop if you need them. Love supporting shops. Wheels are a great way to support your shop. It's a really small purchase for them. Quick flip if they need them. And the more shops that can carry our products, the better, in my opinion. All right, let me get some water and then take some questions. If you have any questions, go to the comments in the live stream and make sure that you tag Back to Blading so that I can see it. Easy enough. Any question is fair game. I'd love to answer your questions. Get some water and then I'll scroll up to the top and see what is going on. All right. Scrolling to the top. All right, Killbot 350. Can you please release a round profile 56, 58 millimeter wheel that is 87 or 89A? We have a round profile 56 millimeter wheel that is 88A. That should fit your needs. They will be available in 2 weeks. So should be available in 2 weeks. I think they clear customs this week, and then it takes about 10 days to get to us. So give it 2 weeks, end of this month, and we should have these in stock. Both colors, black and white. Travis E., when are the 65 millimeter wheels coming out? Good question. So 50/50 makes 65 millimeter wheels. We have a 65/88 and a 65/90. We have totally sold out. We have more on order, but it's taking a while for us to get wheels. They're not on this shipment, they're on the next shipment. The mushroom blading guys have started a new 65 millimeter wheel. I don't have them on hand here. All of the samples for mushroom blading go up to the guys up in Canada. They do their promo, they do all of their marketing and stuff up there. But they should be on the same shipment as our 65s or on 56s. So if you're interested in picking up the new mushroom blading wheels, the 65 mil wheels, they are 65/90. I should have them in a couple of weeks, and I will show them at our next episode of Gear Talk. You can go to mushroomblading.com and get more information or find them on their socials. Really cool graphics. Again, Todd does amazing work with the graphics. I think these are called the tapes, which are like a bunch of VHS tapes, which it's just a really, really cool concept. I think you'll really like them. So yeah, definitely take a look. 65/90s. And if you're waiting for 50/50 wheels in white and black, I think they'll be here November. It's hard to say how long things are going to take now, but they should be shipping. I sent the payment a bit ago. They're out of production and they should be shipping this week or next from the factory. 30 days plus 2 weeks to get to me. So what is that, end of November or so? Maybe beginning of December. Great question though. True 27 ski, keep the flat setup going. Absolutely plan to. It's been a lot of fun, and honestly, I feel a lot better on my knees. I did lose my back farve, which is one of my favorite tricks, and whenever I'm skating ledges, I have to really think about it. There's something nice about not really thinking about it and just kind of jumping on there, but I do feel like skating flat, at least now, because I've gotten more confident with skating and I can skate a little bit faster to things, I feel like skating flat gives me a little bit more focus. Like when I'm out there at my sessions, I don't waste time because I know that I have to nail this on the first try. Otherwise, I'm going to get wheel bite and it's not going to feel good. So I really focus on my grinds, which I don't know if it's helping my style or if it's just helping my consistency, but it's definitely impacting my skating and I actually like it. So we'll be skating flat for a while, that's for sure. Lesser one, are your skates going to be available in Australia? Yeah, so we're working on a new boot. It should be available in spring. We haven't announced much about it, but it's a project that we're working on. Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be available in Australia. We have a really good shop down there called Rampant that's been doing a lot of cool work with all of our brands. The Mushroom Blading, Chroma, and Compass, and 50/50. So if they're carrying any of our brands, they'll have access to our boot. So if they want to pick up the boot, they'll know about it. I'll let them know. Yeah, I hope that they'll be available in Australia. It might be difficult from a pricing perspective. We'll have to look at ways that we can get them product without having to go through the US. So either drop shipping from our factory in China, or I don't know how we're going to be able to do it, but we'll figure out a way. I've never done boots before, so it's going to be a learning process for me on how best to get things to shops. But we definitely know that there are skaters all around the world, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to get boots out to everywhere in the world that needs them. Good question, though, and yeah, I'm excited for it. I can't wait to share you more, that's for sure. Zach Markham, update on your skate brand. Rough estimate of release next year, 2024. Yeah, I'll give you a quick update. So we are still planning on spring 2023. So the first samples that we got in were really great. They're probably like 85%, I'd say, of the way there. There's some cosmetic changes that we need to make. Sent them out to a couple of the team riders for fit and sizing, and they had some feedback. One of the neat things that we're going to do, one of the things that, I am going to really stress is that we try to get these skates to fit as many feet as possible. I feel like a plastic shell is a plastic shell is a plastic shell. They haven't changed all that much in 25 years, right? I mean, there are still people out there who love the Majestic 12. That shell is 30 years old. There's nothing wrong with a tried and true plastic shell. But there are a lot of people out there who hate the Majestic 12 because they don't fit their feet. So our goal with this project is to make sure that the boot will fit as many people as possible. That doesn't mean we're going to make these huge boots that everybody can fit. That's not fitting. That means you can put your foot in there. That doesn't mean it fits your foot. We're going to do something that I don't think has ever been done before. We have a 3D render of our boot. And you know, the way that we developed our frames, the Fitty Fitty frames and the compass frames, is we leverage 3D printing. So we make modifications of the 3D file, the model within Fusion 360 in this case. And we start a print, and we print out a frame, and it might not be skatable, but it will be nice to look at so that you can pick apart little angles and little bits that you don't like. You can skate them, but you know, they're not going to last very long. We skated the balance frames. They were fine, like just to test the groove and see where the groove are. We skated the compass frames just to see what a 260 wheelbase felt like. We're going to be doing the same with the boots. So we're going to be printing out boots so that we can test the fit of the boots before we invest in a mold. If there are adjustments needed, we will make the adjustments because I'm learning how to make adjustments within 3D programs. You know, I've done Fusion 360 for a while. They're using Rhino for the 3D modeling, so I'm learning Rhino, which is a different program that does more of a 3D modeling. It's a different way of looking at a 3D model, but some of the file formats can be converted between the two. So it's fairly familiar to me. I am still learning, but being able to modify it and say, okay, what does a size 42 really feel like? And you find somebody with a size 42 foot who we just happen to have on the team, and they put their foot in the boot with whatever liners they've got, all the different liners, test them out. And they say, this is a little bit pinching on the toe. This is a little bit wide on the side, and this is a little bit too tight on the heel. So I can go in and adjust it and say, okay, let me adjust it a little bit. I'll give it 2 mil in the heel. I'll bring it in 1 mil in the midsection, and I'll raise it a little bit on the toes. I'll print it again, send them out the new shell and say, did that help? And we keep working at it. So this might take a while. This might take months to get down. But we're going to continue doing that until we refine that sizing. Once we refine the sizing for our team, we're going to crowdsource our sizing. So I am going to create a shell that doesn't have any of the graphical design treatments. So you won't know what the boot looks like. It's going to be a very generic looking boot on the outside. I'm going to have a way for you in Gear Talk audience to sign up if you're interested and help us dial in the sizing for our boot. So we will start with a specific size. If you typically wear a size 41, 42, or 43, we will get your information and hopefully, if you're one of the lucky few, send you the shells after we've gotten through all of our tweaking and ask you to do the same thing. So provide us feedback with the fit. We're trying to get as many people as possible to test out this shelf size before we commit to creating a mold. Because once we make a mold, it's very expensive to make them a little bit wider, a little bit taller, a little bit longer so that they fit more people. So our goal is let's get, a dozen people to try these boots on and see what they fit, not what they feel like with their liners. Any liners that they have at their house, if they can find a liner that fits perfectly, great. Try all of your liners on, slide them in the boot, and let's see if they fit your feet. And I feel like that's going to help more people than I might realize. The more people that I can get to try the boot on, the better. Especially on the sizes that I can't really try myself. Like, we're pretty good about finding somebody with a size 42 foot. But when we get to the 46, I don't have a size 46 foot. So finding somebody that has a 46, printing out a shell that is a 46, sending that to them and saying, put in your liner and see how it fits, and then adjusting it until it's perfect for them, then sending it to the next person and saying, okay, what would you change? And then sending it to the next person and say, what would you change and how do they fit? I think getting all of those samples, we'll be able to get so much data from skaters that we'll be able to make the perfect shell that will fit as many people out there as possible. Now that's to say that this shell might be a little big for some of us. We've got some ways that we're going to figure out how to adjust the size after you buy it. We're not going to be able to do one shell for each size. We don't have the money for that yet. That's the goal, but we're going to start with dual sizes for each shell. But how do you bridge that gap? How do you get that shell to fit a size 41 even though the shell is designed for a 42? That's another thing that we're going to be tackling. So a lot going on. I'm saying spring. I think that'll be realistic. I don't know that it'll be out in spring. It'll probably be out in summer, early summer. Our factory actually closes for Chinese New Year from basically all of February. So we should have samples, skatable samples, by the end of this year, if not beginning of January. That will be what we'll start showing off and that we'll be able to share. And if you are in the US and you're planning on going to Bitter Cold, I will try to bring the boots. I have a booth there for Fitty Fitty. I will try to bring the boots out. If we have the boots, I will try to bring the boots out and have the boots available at the booth so that you can take a look. Obviously, I will keep sharing them here at Gear Talk as I get more information. But there is a lot to do. We're making good progress on the liner, on the sole plates, on all of the hardware. We even started working on the boxes. But getting that sizing dialed in, I don't want to rush that, We're not waiting. And then there's no reason for us to release a skate early. We want to make sure that we release the skate when it's ready. So getting the sizing dialed in is the most important thing right now. It might take a little bit longer than I budgeted, but I think it'll be all worth it. I only want to do this once, create a mold once, and then, everybody will appreciate it. And then we'll create more molds, but let's make sure that we nail these first molds so that they fit as many people as possible. Great question, though, and I'm super, super excited to share more. It's been a really fun project. Actually, having the 3D model and being able to manipulate it and stuff has been a thrill. The print takes a while. It's like a 4-day print, so it's a very involved process. But I think it's going to be totally worth it once we're done. Once we're done with this project. All right, let's see. Any other questions? True 27 Skeet, please bring some of the 56s to Grindsgiving. I know at least one person, me, is ready to grab a full set. I will do what I can. I don't know, are they going to have booths at Grindsgiving? They might have booths. If they have booths, I'll probably bring some product. I got to see if Long is coming up, because I usually don't like to have stuff for sale if there is a shop selling, because I have a lot of respect for shops. I'd like to show products, but selling products, if there's a shop there, I don't want to step over them. But if he's not going up, or if there isn't a shop there, then yeah, I'll definitely have stuff for sale. If we have 56s available, we will definitely have some up there. What is it, the second week of November, I think? So we should have the wheels by then, assuming that there's no further delays. So fingers crossed. And yeah, I think they're going to be great. Again, report back this weekend, but I think it's going to be a really fun size to skate. Zach Markham, if I ever somehow win the lotto, would I be able to pay you to get a small batch of purple and pink anti-sport like that? Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't want to say yes because I'll get people asking for customs. The custom wheels take longer. So just pouring a single color was really easy for me. I got really good at it, and it takes me like 8 minutes or so. It takes me twice as long to pour these, which it's fine. They're worth it. They're a very unique anti-rocker wheel, but I have to do everything twice. And then when I'm pouring, I have to pour that purple base and then wait for that all to pour. And then I go in with the green, pour it on top, I swirl it around, and then I have to cap the molds and then pour the rest of the green. So it's a really involved process versus if I'm just pouring a single color. I pour up to the pour line, I cap it, and then I pour the top. Super easy, one mix, no problems. Purple and pink, and we'll see. Let's see what the future holds. That might be a good color combination. We're always looking for new ways to come up with things that match other products in the market. So who knows what we end up with, but the fact that I can pour them in-house and super, super small quantities means that really any color is possible. If you can dream it, you can build it, as Walt Disney never said. But it would be really cool to have a pink and purple, that's for sure. I don't have a pink. Yeah, I do have a pink. Yeah, let me see what I can do. Let me know when you win the lottery. Dolphin Uppercut Adventure 290 prime frames working great so far. Excellent. Cosplayed Jet Set Radio with them at New York Comic Con. Testing the Dark Mage 290 wall prototypes. Thanks again for supporting 290. Absolutely, thanks so much. Glad you enjoy the 290s. It's a very fun size. Yes, Dark Mage has got some 290 walls. He sent me the drawings. I think I've got them from Justin and Tom as well. Maybe from a few other developers, maybe from Richard. As soon as we get a few more 290s, I will publish them on the shop. So if you already have a 290 core, you should be able to order whatever frame walls. You know, we only started with the prime frames, which are the easiest frame for me. It's a super easy frame to print. And once you have the cores, they work with any of the walls. So we do have other walls that are available. As soon as I can, I just got to get some more time, but as soon as I can, I want to do some prints of the 290s, test to make sure that they fit on the cores, and then I'll be able to offer them for sale. So I think I've got 2 more orders that I'm printing now. We also have both of our network printers are down, so it's only me, and I've got 2 printers that are working. So I'm printing as quickly as I can, but it's definitely a bit of a bottleneck right now for getting printed parts out. But I'm glad you liked them. Thanks so much again for the support, and yeah, let us know the feedback as they wear down more. Printed parts have a weird lifespan. You know, they wear really quickly and then they stop wearing, which is a really interesting aspect of 3D printed parts. All right. Kyle Galt, I've been riding the Chroma anti-rockers for a month now. I skate about once or twice a week in park only. My wheels have worn down and had some flat sides and spots. Is that normal? It's kind of normal, kind of not. Feel free to send me an email if you're not thrilled with the way that they're wearing. It's hard to say how quickly wheels should wear because there's so many different variables. The material that you're grinding can add into the wear, of course. I will say that they do wear, they're not a bouncy UHMW or a bouncy urethane like the others, but that's what keeps you from getting wheel bite. So if you are skating with a normal anti-rocker wheel and your anti-rocker wheel gets on top of a rough surface, it would probably bite you a little bit. In this case, rather than bite, they slide. And the problem is the sliding creates that abrasion that then wears out the wheels. So it's not unexpected to have wheels wearing, but clearly we don't want you to have wheels that you aren't happy with. So send us an email, law@balancedist.com. I'd be more than happy to chat with you about it and take a look at the wheels, send me some pictures so that I can see what's going on. But yes, they aren't going to last forever. They're not designed for that. They're designed to slide super fast on curbs and ledges and things like that. And that sometimes can add a little bit of wear to them. But I'm glad that you like them at least, except for the wear, of course. Vinny Knee Zero, I'm on those fatty that you have in the upper left-hand corner. I'm hyped for you to skate. Will you have a 45-degree strap for the skate? No. So our first skate is not going to have a 45-degree strap. I love a 45-degree strap. We might have a 45-degree strap as an option that you can assemble aftermarket, but we actually talked about this. I love having a 45-degree strap. What I don't love is the look of a boot when the 45-degree strap has been removed. That hole in the side, or worse, the Aeon style, where the 45-degree strap has been removed and replaced with a buckle that will cut the shit out of you, that's not a good look. So I didn't want to do this. And you can see with the Aeon, it's designed for a 45-degree strap. Like the whole mold is designed to have this 45-degree strap buckle in here. Without a 45-degree strap, I don't think these skates look as good. Some people don't like a 45-degree strap. So I want to make sure that the mold always looks great. If you want to add a 45-degree strap in, you can, and we will probably provide a 45-degree strap for people who want to do it as an aftermarket upgrade. But by default, at least at launch, the skates won't have a 45-degree strap. You'll have to add that separately. Great question, though. We were just talking about that 2 weeks ago. Tiago Garcia, finding the Balance 2 better than the Prime frames to ride flat. I am. I feel like just the groove itself is just more refined for skating flat because it is a tighter groove. When I get on a ledge, when I get on a rail, I'm just higher up, further away from the base of the boot. But because of this little wheel bite protection, because of this tighter groove, I feel like I get a lot less wheel bite. I haven't gotten serious wheel bite in a long time. I should probably try skating them again on primes just to see if there's any difference, especially now that I'm used to skating flat more. But yeah, I definitely am enjoying the Balance 2s. I think it is a really great setup for the way that I like to skate. Lesser one, what wheels, size, profile, hardness would you recommend for Aeons? We will talk about wheels in a minute, but I think that Aeons can handle a lot. I think so long as you stay away from square profile wheels, anything round, anything face profile, I think you're going to really like. All the way up to the 60 millimeter Rossi stock wheels, even down to a 56 millimeter wheel, I think that would be a really good setup. Aeons are a really fun skate to skate flat, so really sky's the limit. Just stay away from anything that's really square because you'll get a little bit of wheel bite if you have those square wheels on the inside if you're not ready for it. Even on Aeons, I bet you could get some wheel bite there. Zach Markham, estimate skate pricing 300, 400, 500. They will be a plastic boot, so they won't be 500. We're going to try to keep them below 400. Goal is probably around 300. But again, we'll see how production goes, shipping goes, manufacturing goes. Nothing to announce yet, but we want to make sure that these are affordable. It's a plastic boot, so it should be comparable to other plastic boots on the market. And ravenous pathogen, yes, that's what I just said. We're going to try to keep them around a comparable price to other boots on the market. They are a plastic boot. They will come, complete, so you can get them boot only. You can get them shell only. You can get them without liners. So we're going to try to give you a bunch of different options, but most importantly, they should be affordable. They should be for everybody. They're not, super, super high premium, high-end boots. We're going to try to make them affordable, just like, all of my products. I try to do a little bit high-end with chroma and stuff, but really, compass frames, balance frames, just trying to keep them around the $60 for a pair of frames market. I think that's where skating is. We've tried to keep our friends' wheels fairly competitive at $40 for a set. It's kind of where we are. So I'm going to try to keep the boots around that same pricing market as well. Christopher Family, so excited to make Back to Blading build his shell around my foot. Yes, you will be on the list. As soon as we get to the 44, Chris, I will keep you in my heart, and I'll make sure that it fits your fat feet. I love you. I'm just kidding. All right. Let's get started. So let's talk a little bit about wheel profiles. Get a little bit of water. We are at an hour in, so it's a perfect time to talk about wheel profiles. So we talked a little bit about wheel profiles already. Can't speak. We talked about wheel profiles a little bit already. But something that I never really considered when I started skating is that the profile of the wheel actually matters. A wheel isn't just round. When you look at a wheel, you look at a wheel down, this is what they call the profile. They're all a little different, depending on where you get them, depending on what factory creates the wheel and makes the wheel for you. Every profile is slightly different from factory to factory. And each of these profiles has a purpose. Now, I will always argue that a great skater can do great things with whatever they're given. It doesn't matter. We got this whole wall full of skates. And I review a ton of skates. And I can say, completely honestly that some of these skates are easier for me to skate than others. But I'm also a very average skater. I'm confident with what I can do, but what I can do isn't super advanced, You give a pro skater any of the skates on this wall. I mean, Jan Drill took these cracked Solomons, I don't know where they are, these cracked Solomons, and duct taped them, packing taped them to his leg and was able to do a long kinked rail. Like, I could never do that kinked rail, but he was able to just jump on with these cracked Solomon skates from 20 plus years ago. The gear really only matters when you're not super good. That's such a quote. I love to sweat the gear, and I can tell the difference, and I can tell which boots and which wheels make a difference for my skating. But ultimately, if you're an amazing skater, you can go out there and probably do anything with anything. So that's when you look at pros and they endorse products, and it's really hard to say, well, what is it really that good? Like, are these really good wheels just because they say that they're really good? I mean, they can do anything on anything. Does it really matter? Like, you're able to do, Unity or Savannahs on 3x110s. Like, that's not designed for that. Or, the Kaiser Flux frames. Like, you're killing it. You're doing, fish brains on Kaiser Flux frames. Well, that's a really hard trick for most people. Doesn't mean that those Kaiser Flux frames are really good for doing fish brains, right? So in saying that, any wheel that you can get is better than no wheels that you can get. But when you get to a point where you're really confident with skating and you skate a lot and you want the best for the way that you like to skate, the profile of the wheel does make a difference. Now I'm going to talk mostly about aggressive profiles. If you're skating big wheels, so these are some Matt Lyon 80mm wheels. If you're skating big wheels, you're probably going to find that they're more of a bullet or a rounded bullet profile. Profile, again, this is the size of the wheel. So in this case, it is 80 millimeters. And then you durometer, durometer, that is how hard it is, how responsive it is. So you can test to see how hard it is. And typically you want a softer wheel for a more comfortable ride, more grip when you're skating, and a harder wheel for a little bit more durability, potentially more speed. It's also going to be harder. So when you're skating, you're going to feel more of the cracks. So if you're skating distances, you're going to want a slightly softer wheel. If you're skating skate parks and aggressive, then a little bit of a harder wheel would be nice. Might go a little bit faster. A harder wheel usually wears down a little bit slower than a softer wheel. But ultimately, quality of the wheel, quality of the urethane is the most important thing. You can get a really high quality 88A wheel and it'll last a long time versus a cheap 90A wheel that you might get from, your stock wheels on a skate that's only going to last a session. So that's size and durometer. We're talking about profile. Profile of this wheel, so this is an 80mm wheel. Profile of this wheel would be considered a round profile. So it is a consistent contour from one side of the wheel to the other. What that means is when you're skating, wherever you turn, whatever edge you're on, you're getting an equal amount of urethane on the surface that you're skating. Gives you consistent stability, consistent speed. It's all about consistency with a rounded profile wheel. This is a 100mm wheel. This is a mushroom blading 100mm wheel. This is what they would call a bullet profile. You can see, compared to a rounded profile wheel, where this is round, it goes almost like if you cut it in half, you could make a complete circle out of it. Here it goes up to a point and down. So there's a radius, but it's more of a tip of a bullet. So you can kind of see it makes more of a triangle than a circle. Now, why would you want a bullet profile? Well, this is more designed for if you're skating more of a straight line, you're going to get less resistance. So you're going to go a little bit faster than if you had more surface area. So if you're looking at speed skaters, they're going to have a very bullety profile. They want the least amount of urethane touching the ground as possible. So they want to go as fast as they can. That means less material touching. That means the more of a bullet, the better. The great thing about these wheels, and why these were super fun for mushroom blading guys, is when you're skating a bullet profile, not only are you skating fast because of this bullet, but if you do a quick turn, you can also slide really nicely. So it creates this really nice flat surface that you can slide on. So you've got the bullet for a fast skate, and you've got a nice stable flat area for slides. But we're not really talking about these tonight. This is a recreational thing. Usually when you find 100, 101, 110, 125 millimeter wheel, they're going to be a bullet profile. It's very rare to see a square profile big wheel like this. 80 millimeters, same deal. You're usually going to find a round profile. You could probably find them a little bit more bullet than this, but typically they'll be a round profile. And the reason is it's an all-purpose wheel. You get that big, you're going to want to skate. You're going to want to skate fast. You want to have stability. All of that comes into play. Aggressive is when we get to have a little bit of fun with profile. So aggressive skaters, we like very specialized profiles. And our setups are very different depending on what we like to skate. The two big setups would fall into two buckets, either flat or anti-rocker. And the main difference being when you're skating anti-rocker, you have two wheels touching. So the front wheel and the back wheel will touch. The middle wheels, they're just for grinding. So when you're jumping on handrails, you're jumping on ledges, when you're skating transition and you're grinding coping, this is just for grind. So you want this to be hard, small wheels that aren't going to touch. But as a result, it really doesn't matter as much what you put in here, so long as they are hard and they won't stick out on anything. You don't want them to be the square things that are going to stick on the ledge that you're skating. You want a little bit of an angle, but yeah, hard, small, that's all you need on the inside because they're not going to touch. So I have my little piece of masonite here. This is what we put on the ramp. And you can see when you're skating anti-rocker, these wheels are not touching. So the wheels on the outside are spinning. The wheels on the inside are not touching. So the other option is skating flat. I guess I could use these, yeah. So when you're skating flat, all four wheels are touching. So when you're skating, you can see all the wheels are spinning. This isn't perfectly flat. I'll also caveat that this isn't perfectly flat. So you might see the middle wheels touching more. Just know that if this was perfectly flat, all the wheels would be touching. Two different ways of going about doing aggressive skating. And we'll talk about both of them and which profiles are best, because they are very different use cases. When you're skating anti-rocker, because the wheelbase becomes 250, 270 millimeters, whatever the first to fourth wheel is, and there's no wheels touching on the inside, you get a very long base. There's no pivot points on the inside, which means that the profile of these wheels really matters how quickly you can turn. With a round profile wheel, if you're skating anti-rocker, when you turn, you're going to have so these are a fairly round profile. When you turn, you have a fairly equal amount of urethane touching from the front to the back, which means that there is just as much of a running base, I guess you could call it, regardless of if you're skating straight, if you're turning, if you're on one heel, things like that. If you had a more bullet profile, so we make this, where is it? Oops. Let me actually show you this one. So this was, let's take a step back. So round profile, you're going to feel like you're turning a little bit when you're skating anti-rocker. Square profile. So this is the Chris Farmer 57 millimeter wheel from Red Eye. This is a fairly square profile. And you can see the difference. It's a round profile, square profile. Square profile, you're going to be on this flat tread. So when you turn, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get up on this edge. Versus here, you're kind of already on the edge. So you can just kind of lean a little bit. Here, you have to really force the lean in order to get on one of these edges to turn. So if you're skating this square wheel anti-rocker, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to turn. And the reason is it's harder to get on the edge of the wheels because it's a flat running surface versus a rounded running surface. However, if you're skating flat, because you've got multiple points of contact for the wheel, a flat wheel actually works really well. So you'll be able to still turn because you've got not just this wheel on the front and this wheel in the back that you need to pivot, but you've got these little wheels on the inside as well. So when you turn, you've got a little bit more options for the edges of this wheel to start catching. And you'll be able to turn a little bit quicker. In 99, maybe 2000, K2, maybe, yeah, 2001 maybe, K2 released a wheel that was a hybrid of these two concepts. So it wasn't just a flat wheel, it wasn't a rounded wheel. It's what they called a new profile. This was the face profile. So this was a really interesting profile. This is a mixture of a flat wheel and even less than a rounded wheel, almost like a bullet profile. So you can kind of see this is that bullet profile 100 millimeter wheel that we were talking about. This is the face wheel. This is a 58, I think 59. But you can see the edges here are almost like a bullet profile. Yet it is flat running surface. So the characteristics of this wheel would be very similar to the flat wheel for stability. That's why you want this flat surface, so that when you're skating you have a nice stable base. The problem with skating a bullet profile or less of a rounded profile, I think rounded is a really good compromise between all styles, but if you're skating more of a bullet profile, if you've got this little running tread up top, when you're doing gaps, when you're spins or anything like that, anytime you're coming off at an object, you want a bigger base area so that you can land solid. This flat profile is really good at that. This is like a square profile, really good at that. So nice stability when you're skating, really good landings, things like that. Rounded profile actually works really well on the between to give you a nice compromise between this square and maybe more of a bullet profile. But what an interesting profile. So they took this flat running surface and then they made a bullet on the outside. There was also a few different wheels back in the days that had something kind of similar. This was an old Bravo wheel. This actually came on the Rossi's Blake Dennis skates. I don't know how I got this wheel, but if you look at the profile, you can see it has a flat surface, kind of similar to the face profile, but it doesn't go bullet. It's more of a rounded on the edge with a flat running surface. This is what Bravo calls their aggressive profile, and this was fairly standard back in the 90s. So you'd have a slight flat surface and then a little rounded area on the outside. This probably worked really well for the days, and that's why it was so popular. I don't think you see this very often anymore. Eulogy does make one. Where's my Eulogy wheel? Eulogy, when you can find them, I think they're still available now, but these are the 55s, 54s. You can see they have a really nice flat profile on the top, very similar to this. More of a rounded edge than the tapered edge, which you get on this Bravo wheel. But very good compromise between having a nice stable base and the rounded profile on the edges. So which one is best? Well, it's kind of all subjective. When you're skating anti-rocker, typically I recommend a rounded profile wheel. I think that rounded profile is the best compromise for when you only have two wheels that are touching. I usually shy away from skating a square wheel when you're skating anti-rocker. The main complaint that people have with anti-rocker skating is that it feels like you're kind of stuck in train tracks. So you're skating, and in order to turn, you can't just curve. You can't get on an edge. You have to pick up your toe and kind of pivot and then go down. So you're just on your heels when you're turning. And that is exaggerated with a square profile. It's even more difficult to turn. If you're skating something with a rounded or a face profile, you will have an easier time turning. So skating something like this, a little bit more of a bullet, this edge is easier to get to. So when you turn, you'll be able to pop on this edge a lot easier. Nice carve. A little bit more swizzly, even if you're skating anti-rocker. But I typically recommend a round profile for skating anti-rocker. I think that round profiles are the way to go. There's a lot of great round profiles out there. These are the ones that we make. But you can also get them from Dead. You can get them from Red Eye. You can get them from Undercover. They all make like a 59 or a 60 millimeter round profile. Very, very solid profile for skating anti-rocker. That is what I would recommend if you are looking for the optimal all-around style for skating anti-rocker. Definitely stick with a round profile wheel. Skating flat. So skating flat can be a little bit more, I guess, subjective. I've skated a bunch of different profiles and I've found a few that I really like, but there are merits to all of the different types. Like we mentioned before, the more of a square profile you're going to get, the more stability you're going to get when you're landing gaps, when you're landing spins, things like that. The more bullet you're going to get, the more swizzly you'll be. Where it comes in with flat is you have to also take into account the profile of the wheel for the inside two wheels of your frame and how it impacts your ability to do grinds. So when you're skating flat, let's see, what's a good flat frame? Do I have something over here? I could take these. So these are the them frames. These are a fairly square wheel. If you look at this groove, when you are skating flat, a more square wheel will pop up a little bit quicker. So if you're skating a ledge, this wheel being square makes the wheel a little bit wider where it would touch the ledge. So if you jump on a ledge and if you grind, you can see it right here actually on the front wheel. You can see that this edge is wider and it might rub a little bit more on the ledge, which would then give you a little bit of wheel bite. I think these are 56 millimeter wheels. These are the community wheels. I think they're 56s. There aren't a lot of 56 mil wheels. 58's usually fairly common. I think 58 is what they come with now on the them frames, and the them wheels that are on the them frames now are a little bit more rounded, a little bit more like, I guess, more like a face profile than anything. Than these, more like these, where they have a little bit of a running surface up top, but then they're more of a rounded edge. I don't have any of the new them wheels, but I think that profile was a big upgrade over this profile. This is a very square profile. But if you are skating flat, typically what I like to say is avoid square wheels. And the reason is, if you look at the wheels that came on these Mesmers, I got a lot of wheel bite skating these, which was weird. These are 60 millimeter wheels, but they're a very square wheel. And when getting down on the side of a ledge, I tended to hit this wheel a lot when I was doing Royale tricks. My recommendation would be stick with some rounder wheels. You know, if you wanted to get a big 60 millimeter wheel, this wheel is going to be much more rounded. Do I have the wheel? The headers. Than this wheel. These are both 60 millimeter wheels. You can look at the wheel, and where it rounds off there, this one just comes completely out. And it's not just this wheel. There's plenty of square wheels out there. I think square wheels are fine, but if you're skating flat, I would probably recommend not getting a square wheel. Stick with a round wheel. It's probably a big upgrade. Most skates come with rounded wheels now. You do find some square wheels from time to time, but most skates would come with more of a rounded wheel, especially if you're skating a flat setup. The other option is the face profile. So there's a few that make face profile wheels. Mushroom Blading makes them. We make them. You'll see these will provide a more optimized setup for skating flat. So because of the way that this wheel has a rounded flat area here, when you're jumping on a ledge, you're going to slide more than bite. The angle that you get from a more square wheel. So this is also a 58 millimeter wheel, but you can see the difference between that wheel on the edge, how much smaller the effective size of that wheel is where it's going to hit the ledge. When you're jumping on a ledge, this is going to bite a little bit more. This will slide a little bit more. So I always recommend, if you're skating flat, rounded wheels are the way to go. If you want to get a little bit more optimized, you can get something with a face profile. That will give you a little bit less wheel bite when you're doing grinds, especially on ledges. A little bit less stability though, so there is a trade-off. I think a rounded profile is probably the best all around, but optimized for the least amount of wheel bite on your flat setup, whether you're skating Aeons, Balance 2s, Creates, whatever you got. Stick with more of a face profile for less of a wheel bite, and more of a rounded profile if you want more all-around skating. Last thing that we didn't talk about, not really a profile thing, but hardness. I've been mixing up a harder wheel on the inside, softer wheel on the outside. It's worked really well for me. I'm skating 92A on the inside, 88A on the outside. It's been working really well, so the theory is that you get a hard wheel on the inside, so if you do end up getting any wheels touching the surface that you're grinding, that hardness is going to help that wheel slide a little bit more on the ledge. It's been working really well. I haven't gotten very much wheel bite. The problem is that the outside wheels do wear faster than the inside wheels. And that creates a nice rocker. I don't mind the rocker because, like a frog in a pot of water, and you turn on the kettle and you slowly heat up the water before the frog jumps out, right? I've gotten used to the rocker over the last month as I've been skating them, because the wheels, while they wear in, my body gets used to how they feel. If I were to just jump on this setup or give this setup to somebody who's used to skating anti-rocker, they would say, whoa, there's a lot of rocker. You get used to it after skating it for a while. But that is one of the negatives. I do think potentially skating in all flat hard wheels is probably a really good way to avoid that, and then rotating your wheels to keep the wear kind of on the same level for each of the wheels. But if you like to experiment and you want to switch out your wheels more often, definitely recommend the harder wheel on the inside. It's been a really fun experiment. All right, I think I got to everything. Final conclusion, definitely if you're skating anti-rocker, I always recommend a rounded profile wheel. I think you can skate a face profile wheel, you're going to miss a little bit of the stability. You can skate a flat profile wheel, square profile wheel, but you're going to miss a little bit of the responsiveness and being able to turn. So Right in the middle, round profile is probably the way to go. If you're skating flat, you could really do anything. Try all of the different profiles, see what you like the best. It really depends on what you like to skate. For me personally, I think a rounded profile is the way to go. A face profile is probably best if you want to cut down on wheel bite. And a square profile is probably best if you want a little bit more stability when you're landing gaps and doing spins and things like that. I hope that helps. I'd love to hear what your favorite profile is for each of those two setups. If you've experimented with wheels, it is the golden age of wheels. There's more profiles available now than have ever been available because we have been coming out with new wheels. So you're able to try all these different things that you've never tried before. Give all of the wheels a try, report back, let me know which one you like the best. Try to find wheels of comparable size, comparable hardness, but different profiles, and see if it makes a difference in your skating. You might love it, you might hate it, but you won't know until you try. All right. Fun chat. So many wheels here. I love the opportunity to take wheels off of the wall. I do have not just this skate wall, but I have a wheel wall over there where I keep all of the old wheels that I had. Some of the wheels I didn't talk about. So this yellow wheel, I only showed it a couple of times. This is the undercover 58 millimeter wheel. So you can see this in the standard Gods dual density wheel. The undercover 58 millimeter wheels, they all kind of use this mold. The new Sick Urethane Jimmy Sizz wheels, these are the 58 millimeter profile that they use for that wheel as well. These are a special wheel that came to me from my friend Sasha over in Europe. They are from the Starlight Express Broadway show that is performed on roller skates, but there are inline skaters as well. And the inline skaters use these wheels because they are 58 millimeter 88A, so it's a really great urethane, but the hardness of the inside core is so hard, kind of like those famous wheels. It's so hard that they're going to be super fast. So you get a really super fast ride with this wheel, but with the 88A, you'll still get good grip and good responsiveness. These Blake Dennis wheels, I just pulled these off. What a find, right? So these, I don't know where these came from, but somebody gifted them to me. I only have the one, but it is a 56 mil 88A wheel. Very, very cool. And probably the only example of the aggressive profile that I have, because they don't make very many 56 mil wheels anymore at Bravo. Maybe Ground Control has some, but yeah, this is a very interesting profile they don't make anymore. And then the classic face profile. This was the face mystery box that you used to be able to buy. My friend Jeff Metz sent this to me so that I could test them out. And this was actually the wheel, not this exact wheel, but these were the wheels that I sent over to the factory to get our 58 millimeter wheels made. So I was never able to skate these wheels. I left rollerblading when they were under development, so I wasn't able to really skate them, and I wasn't really good enough to really know the difference, to be honest. But then I came back and I said, oh, I want to try skating these these face profile wheels. Why can't I find any? Nobody had them. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make my own. So I made a profile. So this is our own mold that we made to start the face profile revolution. And actually this 60 millimeter Rossi's wheels, I think K2 actually worked with Bravo to create that mold. So they were available on some K2 skates back in the days, and then Ground Control came out with them, and I think Rossi's is using them now. So you can get these in a 60 millimeter wheel with the Bravo urethane, or you can get ours in a 58 millimeter wheel. Lots of wheels. Love wheels. I think wheels are my favorite part of skating. You know, I can dial in frames, I can dial in boots and stuff, but wheels, there's so many different nuances to wheels and different urethanes that you can get, not to mention different colors and prints that you can get to make your whole setup look really nice. The different profiles, the different hardnesses, the different sizes, they all make a slight difference. You can really optimize your ride. So I'm super excited about new wheel projects. All right. Let's take a few more questions, and then I'm going to wrap it up. If you have a question, again, please tag Back to Blading in the comments. I'd love to answer your question. If you're watching this and we're not live, leave a comment in the video. I always read all of my comments. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to answer your questions. If I don't have the answers, I will find out somebody who does. Aldelega, how many pairs of puffy tongues will the Law Dog Deluxe come with? I'm assuming you're talking about the new skate. I don't think we're going to have a puffy tongue option, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't want to spill all the beans yet. We'll see what's available. Pockets. Which type of 3D printing do you recommend for printing core frames? Filament-based or UV curing resin? We use filament. So we do FDM printing, which is the one row at a time printing. It is cost effective. Usually a spool of filament costs around 20 to 25 bucks. You can get about 4 frame walls out of that at 100% print. So that is a $5 per wall cost, give or take, which I think is perfect for this sort of hobby. You're going to mess up a lot. So prints fail fairly often, which is why we don't sell them at cost. We sell them for a little bit more because we got to make sure that we factor in failures. Sometimes the print just doesn't work. Sometimes the filament that you bought is crappy filament. You know, we got to factor that in so people who are doing the printing don't lose money on the job. But if you're doing it as a hobby, definitely use FDM printing. We use Creality CR10s. Those are kind of the standard low-cost printers. They're anywhere from $250 to $350, depending on when you're buying them. But super user-friendly if you're into that sort of thing. If you're a geeky guy or a girl that likes to play with code and figure out how things work. They are a little finicky, but again, for less than 400 bucks, you can start printing your own frames. That's a pretty cool investment. Go to coreframemarket.com/developers for more information. We've got the core developer kit there that you can download, and you can get some sample files for Fusion 360 so that you can see how we create walls. And there's a FAQ that explains all of the different filaments and printers and how to print and things like that. There's also, we host our core developer kit code on GitHub. There's a GitHub issues board, so if you have a question, you can always post there, and the other developers can chime in, or I'll definitely help out if you get stuck. I am definitely not the expert at 3D printing. There are much smarter people than I am that are part of the Core Frame marketplace and do core frame development. I'm just thrilled that I was able to build something that they were able to build off of. And I love seeing all of the new frame walls coming out. It's just such a creative space. So yeah, for what we do, FDM printing using PLA Max, PLA Plus is the way to go. Again, Creality 10, CR10 is 300 bucks or so, maybe 400 bucks max. And a spool of filament, 20 to 25 bucks, and you'll be up and running. Zach Markham talking about boot pricing, I'm sure. So average middle ground pricing, yes. So it's not going to break the bank. We want to make sure that it's attainable for most people to get these boots. We'll have pro models eventually, of course, and those will be more expensive. But our baseline standard boots, yeah, they're going to be attainable for most people, I hope. Scrolling up, scrolling up, scrolling down. That was the last question. All right. Blading on the Brain. Hey, Kenan. What profile are the Brandos? They are a round profile. They are the same 60mm profile that we've been making for a while. We also proudly make the One Trick a Day wheels for Richard. He owns the company. I have nothing to do with it, but I helped him produce the wheels. So definitely vouch for the quality of these wheels if you want to support a good person doing good things and you like white wheels that are 90A. 60 millimeter, they are the same. It's a rounded profile. Probably best, again, for skating anti-rocker. Really good setup if you're skating flat as well. Kind of the workhorse of the industry if you're looking for a rounded profile wheel. Yeah, these are really good. The Brandos are the same profile. Zach Markham, can we see the wheel wall? Yes, I'll take a picture and I'll post it to my Instagram. How about that? I'll clean it up. There's some wheels that you aren't allowed to see yet, but as soon as I can clean them up, I'll take a picture for you. I also have a frame wall as well, so that both of those walls are over there, and I'll let you see what they look like. Tiago, just bought my Balance 2 frames to ride flat. Finally, they are available in Brazil. Thank you so much. It's been a long time trying to get frames down to Brazil. I have been down to Brazil twice. Absolutely love the community down there. I hear from a lot of skaters in Brazil who want to support 50/50, want to try the frames, but it's really difficult to get them down there. A few months ago, we were approached by Rafael over at Razors Brazil, and he is now helping us get the frames down to Brazil so that you can get them. So again, huge thanks to them. Huge thanks to the T'Chaka podcast guys. That was a great opportunity for me to get to know a little bit about Brazil and skating. If you haven't listened to that, find their podcast. I don't know which episode I am, 6 or something like that. But I feel like that really helped as well. And I mean, I love the culture down there. I love the community. I think getting more frames down there would be great. Getting more options down there is going to be good. And yeah, thanks for the support. I'm sure that they were expensive. I hope that they live up to your expectations. Please tag us on the Instagram so that we can see what you look like when you're skating them. Because yeah, I love seeing people skating the products that we make. Vinny Zero, when will you take my money for pre-order skate? Probably won't be doing pre-orders until we have some set on production. This will be an earlier pre-order than I usually like. I usually like to do pre-orders no more than 45 days in advance. In this case, I'm going to need some help though, because production for skates are really expensive. We'll probably need to do a pre-order. We'll probably be able to get production started with money that we have, but we won't be able to finish production. So we'll probably need pre-orders like 60 days before they land. So it might be a little bit earlier. I would say March. It's really hard to say. Again, my goal is to have skates available in the beginning of summer. They take February off for Chinese New Year, so I would assume that they'll be fully in production in March, and then we'll probably do pre-orders around that time, March, April, and then May, June, so they'll probably be here in June. So that's pretty realistic timeline. We'll have samples probably in January, February, so that we could share them with you though. Aldalega, confirm, deny that the Law Dog Deluxe uses the Crocs mold. Cannot confirm or deny that information. I don't know who told you, but it's not public. Tree, hey Tree, if you could bring one skate back to 1992, what skate would it be? It's an excellent question. So I wasn't skating in 92, but back in those days, all that they had was the rollerblade TRS. If you're talking about aggressive skates, I bet the skate that they would freak out the most on would probably be like an Adapt. So some sort of a carbon fiber boot with the flexible top with a UFS frame with a wish frame. Yeah. So that's probably what I would do. I would probably do a wish frame on an Adapt with the machined sole plate and a carbon boot and the nubuck leather, and just be like, all right, Chris, what you're doing now on the rails on these, TRS with little wheels and, a joist bolt for a grind plate, Like, look at what happens in 30 years, you know? Because they would probably just fall over themselves. Like carbon fiber, replaceable frames with multiple frames available that are specific for what we do. And what the hell is this wish frame doing? That would be a pretty crazy setup. And I'd love to skate it back then. I mean, I would be amazing skating back then. But if I broke those skates, I'd be, you know, out of luck, I guess. That would be miserable. I'd have to come back to the future. Zach, did you see the newest older blading video, Oak Summer? It was filmed in Raleigh. Yes, and some of the clips were actually at our event here in at the warehouse. They're really good crew here in Raleigh. Sometimes they come by and say hey, so yeah, it's nice to have good local skaters and good local video production, that's for sure. Mr. Darren 25, my dream wheel from Balance Distribution would be a Bullet Face 65 millimeter big core wheel. Wink wink. Yes, big core is something that I am trying to do. It is very expensive. So when he says big core, if you look at this face profile wheel and my face profile wheel, this is a face profile wheel. This is our 58. This is the actual face wheel from K2 back in the days. If you look at this core, you see where the dots are. The amount of urethane for this wheel and this wheel is probably very similar. So the distance between the riding surface and where the urethane starts, this hard core is not, it might be urethane, but it's not the same urethane that you're skating. It's not 85A urethane. What that does is it creates a faster ride because you've got less urethane bouncing around, more stability. It's just like having really skinny tires on a sports car. Big rims, skinny tires, big rim, skinny tires. Similar concept to this undercover wheel. Big rim, skinny tires. That is the dream. I've been working on something for that, but it is very expensive. So it is, again, a project that I'm saving up for, trying to plant the seed so that I can do it in the future, but it is an expensive project. 65 millimeter wheel definitely will benefit from having a big core. I think the current 65 millimeter wheels that we make, they are fine. I feel like they're a little sloppier than I would like. So doing them a little harder, 92A might be a way around that. But the perfect solution is get a big core, fit the big core in there so the amount of urethane for the 65 is the same as the amount of urethane as the 58 or the 60. That would make it a much snappier, faster wheel, much more responsive. Face profile would be great too. Ultimately, we need more frames that can accommodate a 50 or 65 millimeter wheel though. You know, there's really not that many out there. There's I mean, you can put them on the outside of a wish frame, which is a bad idea for a face profile. You could put them on the flat frames, the Anthony Potier frames, but that's probably the only fully flat 65 millimeter frame out there, right? Mega frames, if you can find them, mushroom blading frames, if you can find them, but really there's not that many options. So not only do I have to create a new 65 millimeter wheel, but I have to create a 65 millimeter flat frame. So got two things I got to do in order for that project to work. Not to say it won't happen, but I got a lot of plates that I'm trying to keep spinning right now. So someday, maybe I'll be able to get to that. It's a stretch goal. Sean Michelson, looking forward to finally high-fiving at Bitter Cold, 20 plus years in the making. Also, I'd like to test the Law Dog shells for sizing. Yes, Sean, I'm excited to meet everybody. We have our booth already booked, so we'll definitely be there. Trying to decide between flying and driving. Driving, it is like a 10-hour drive, so not a huge issue. It's a full day, but I was looking into flights, and they're pretty expensive to get up to Detroit, which, especially if I'm bringing product and, you know, we have a booth, we'll bring up some displays, like it might be more difficult to get that stuff shipped up there. It might be cheaper to just drive anyway, and then just, you know, take a day off work and be there. I think Bitter Cold's only one day too, so I'll probably be up for a couple of days, but it should be a really easy day. Yes, looking forward to meeting everybody, giving everybody hugs and hopefully COVID wasn't super bad around that time. I'll be vaccinated. I hope everybody else is, but probably mask up on the inside. Unless, who knows? It's hard to say. February, so far away, could be a dead thing by then. Knock on wood. Sean, by the way, flipping through some old daily breads, any chance of ever doing another run of 50/50 carpenter jeans? No, probably not. Jeans are really difficult to do. I think there's a reason why we don't have a lot of clothing in the industry, and the clothing that we have are mostly tops. It's because pants are expensive, and there's so many different sizing out there that it's hard to compete with brands that do it. Levi's or Gap or anywhere else you can buy jeans now. Our jeans would be twice the price. It's just the way that it is, and they probably wouldn't fit as well. So I would probably just tell people to go get jeans from a place that can actually provide jeans. Never say never. I'd love to do more clothing. I think blading clothing is really cool, but carpenter jeans might not be a thing that I want to do. I never really liked those. I liked the skate jeans. We might bring back the skate jeans as a fun little limited throwback thing, but yeah, I don't know about the carpenter jeans. I don't know. That was a lot of luck. And last question, Zach Markham. I mentioned those big core wheels are a little lighter than small core wheels of the same size and durometer. That's true too. So typically the core is an injection molded part that can be a lot lighter than the urethane. Urethane can be pretty dense and pretty heavy. Especially the harder the urethane. So if you wanted to go 90-92, it gets a little bit harder. You can see the size when we bring in the boxes of urethane, boxes of wheels. You can see on the size they have to list the grams for shipping, how heavy the boxes are. And the 60-90s are heavier than the 60-88s. It's so funny because it's the same amount of wheels, but 300 wheels in a box, a little bit of difference is going to make a noticeable difference at the end. All right, I think we are good. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. This was a lot of fun. I hope you learned something about wheel profiles. I hope you'll go out there and give different profiles a try. There are a lot of great wheel companies out there. Obviously, I know a lot about wheels, and I've been doing a lot of testing over the years, and I can say that my opinions on wheels change after skating different profiles. And I've come to the realization of skating what I like, but I'm always out there looking for different options. And I recommend that you do too. Next time you go out to get yourself a fresh set of wheels, find yourself a good company, a good brand that you trust, find a wheel size that you like, and find a profile that you've never tried and see what it feels like. You can always sell them if you don't like them, but give them a try. They might be the right wheel for you. Who knows? You won't know until you try. I hope you're being safe out there. Always promoting vaccinations. I think that this new Omicron bivariant thing that we have access to, I got it. I feel fine. Haven't gotten COVID yet. More people need to know that this thing exists. So I know that people are tired of listening about COVID. I still don't want to get sick. I don't care if COVID is super deadly. I just don't want to get sick. So I get myself the flu shot. I get myself the COVID vax. Every 6 months, that's just what I'm going to do. And stop myself from getting sick. If you have the ability to do that, I think you should. Stop yourself from getting sick and getting other people sick. It's super important to take care of our community. Hope everybody else is doing good out there, though. It's starting to get cool out here. Get out there and skate while you can. October is usually the last month for us before it starts getting pretty cold. I am a wimp when it comes to skating in the cold. Anything colder than my age is a no-go, and I'm now 46. So when it starts to get in the 40s, I stop skating outside. I hope that you are younger than me. I hope that you are stronger than me and warmer than me, and that you can go out and skate in colder weather, because it sucks not going out there and skating. But I hate pulling my back out. It makes for a funny video, but it absolutely hurts when I throw my back out trying to put my skates on. Again, thanks everybody for joining me tonight. Had a really good time. Hope you get to skate this weekend, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.